Everyone filling in for Megan for a Financially Free Era pod on a Friday. And gosh, I'm going to probably overshare here, but I think it's something that I think it's pretty interesting to hear about because I think it'll be really financial planning related. And I think it's kind of a little scary, but it's kind of fun to talk about because I think it's just something I don't think we all think enough about. Okay. So I'm going to talk about some scary incident that happened to me and my family on an ice mountain, and I'm going to relate it to financial planning. So, what do I mean by that? So, my wife really wanted to go skiing, and we don't have great skiing here on the East Coast. That's super close to where I live in North Carolina, and there are some spots that are nice in the western part of the state. And so, we decided to try to drive over there after my wife's work, and I made the really dumb decision as a person raised in Florida that didn't grow up around ice and snow to drive there in our minivan with two-wheel drive, which probably would have been fine and weather not been bad. But I start going up this mountain to this ski area, and it starts coming down with snow. And my car begins to have some slip-in issues as we're going up the hill, and I'm starting to think, oh gosh, this doesn't feel smart. But we get right to close to the spot where we're supposed to stay for the weekend. And then I'm going up this hill without a guardrail on the side, and then I hit black ice, and I literally lose traction, and I start sliding backwards. And oh my gosh, it was terrifying. It's 11 p.m. Just to paint a picture, it's not quite a blizzard, but it's definitely a heavy snowstorm with 25-mile-an-hour winds. The two kids are sleeping in the back, and we are slowly sliding the wrong direction down a hill where there's no guardrail at the bottom and it's just a drop. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I throw on the emergency brake. It's luckily slows us and stops us. And now we have the car running, but it is, 10-degree wind chill, and we are still a ways away uphill from where the place we're supposed to stay is. And it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So we called all the tow places, can't get to you, sorry. We've got young kids in the car. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, 10-degree wind chill, like somebody could get hurt. I'm going to call 911. I did that, and they said, hey, sorry, we cannot come to you. The conditions are too bad. We cannot make it to you. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. Even 911 won't come to us. And so, you know, our friend that was we're staying with, they had four-wheel drive. They went past us up the hill. They made it to the lodge where they're supposed to stay, but on the way up there, they spun out, even with four-wheel drive, because the black ice was that bad. And anyways, they finally made it to the place, and the dad kind of got his family settled, walked down. We walked, basically had to abandon the car. So it's two kids, five and under, at 1 a.m. in the morning that had been stuck in the car that long, walking in 25-mile-an-hour winds and 10-degree wind chill, trying to make it to this rental place that was safe and dry and that we were going to be able to get to and just at least survive. And I'm thinking to myself, I did not spend nearly enough time thinking about safety and thinking about the safety of my family and my children. And I felt like such a failure in that moment because, yeah, I might be smart in certain things, but gosh, I felt like a total idiot when it came down to snow tires and not driving a two-wheel vehicle up a mountain and, looking up the weather forecast before I drove somewhere and, paying attention to elevation change and how steep the grade was to make it to this place, right? So I think that how is this related to financial planning? I think that in your 20s, you kind of think you're invincible, right? At least I certainly did in my younger 20s. And you think all these bad things that can't happen to me. And then I think some stuff happens in your life where you start thinking in your 30s, oh, wait a second, I'm not going to live forever. And then you have maybe at some point some scary things happen to you that you kind of have that are near misses, and you think, oh man, I wish I have some life lessons now that I can learn from, right? And so I thought I'd share this for a couple reasons. One is if you ever go anywhere in the winter, make sure you got snow tires, make sure you got four-wheel drive, spend the money. Your life is worth it. If you think about the value of statistical life, EPA says that I think it's like $8 to $10 million. So in other words, the government thinks that your value of statistical life is worth $8 to $10 million. Are you worth $2,000 extra for all-wheel drive on your vehicle? Yeah, you are. Are you worth, if you don't have all-wheel drive, apparently two-wheel drive is fine if you have snow tires. That's what this plow truck driver I met at this this bar that I was ordering pizza at for the family when we were stuck there. Uh, we made it off the mountain and we just stayed at the foot of the mountain to let it all kind of melt, all this crazy black ice for a couple days. But I think that most people are underspending on their own personal safety. And what do I mean by that? Not just like things like getting all-wheel drive, having a nice vehicle, stuff like that. I think people are probably underspending on families' financial safety for things like term life insurance. I think most people are woefully underinsured for term life insurance, especially situations where one person earns significantly more money than the other spouse. I think most people, not all people, most people are probably underinsured when it comes to disability insurance. And something happens to you and you're injured, but you don't die, are you able to live the same lifestyle, right? I think that that's something to think about. Now, I don't think that that necessarily means that the solution is go buy a brand new vehicle because you should be worried about your family's safety. I think it's more complicated than that, right? Is a new car a lot safer than a 2006 car? Absolutely, in most cases it is. But in the winter, in snow and ice, a four-wheel drive 2006 car with snow tires is going to way outperform a brand new, two-wheel drive minivan, right? So I think that that's something to think about. Is where in your life maybe is it worthwhile to say, hey, me and my family's personal safety is worth spending a little bit of extra money. I'll give you another example, just a personal life story example. One time when I was in my mid 20s, I was riding the Mexico City subway system. That's how I was getting around, and I felt fine doing it. So this is fine, no problem, right? Well, then my buddy and I got robbed by a group of people in the Mexico City subway station, and it was cheap, but it wasn't super safe. If you're somebody like me, a tall foreigner, like you kind of stick out, and yeah, it was a little bit scary, and it's like, oh, maybe I should have like spent like $20 on an Uber, like or at least been more aware of my surroundings. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times, I don't think that anybody should live life in fear, but I do think that we ought to do a better job collectively about being prepared when we go out and take adventure and take risks. It's really smart to think through it and be ready for those risks. And there's risks that are not quite as personally dangerous as getting stuck on a slick mountain with toddlers at 11 p.m. at night, like financially speaking. But there are a lot of risks people take in their finances that people don't think enough about, right? Things like having a huge percent of your portfolio in some random asset that may or may not work out. People are taking chances that they don't need to take. And you might as well give yourself a higher probability of having things work out well for you, right? Like I think I see a lot of people that some of their investments are allocated in a way where it suggests they want to really live well, uh, like in terms of just YOLOing and having fun with their investments, and that's fine. But it's like, well, can you have fun doing something else? Like for example, getting four-wheel drive snow tires when you drive up a mountain. I'm just kidding, but so those are some reflections, right? Is you are worth investing in. Your family's safety is worth putting extra money in. If it costs an extra couple thousand to get the all-wheel drive, my experience for this weekend is go do it. And even more importantly, pay attention to what kind of tires and you're driving in, and where the destination you're going in is, and is it stink to have to drive somewhere in the morning in the daylight? When it's cuts your vacation shorter. Maybe it is worth it. Maybe it's worth it to get there safe and sound and enjoy the trip, whatever. I don't know. All kinds of emotions after going through a scary experience like that. I thought it'd be interesting to share and interesting for people to hear about, because I think, the lesson there that I'm getting is just be prepared, right? What do you have in your vehicle? Do you have an emergency kit in your vehicle with maybe some emergency rations, something to let people know that you're stranded, maybe something to have access to water, right? Maybe an emergency blanket if you're in a cold area. Maybe this is old news to a lot of people. Some people are going to say, "Of course I do this with my family, Travis. That's so silly." It's like, I mean, of course you do that. But I think that as somebody that grew up in the South, again, this was just a blind spot that I had. From a financial planning standpoint, I do think that my failure this weekend protecting my family, when you maybe say it's a success because we came out of it okay, but it was this scary moment. Well, how was it caused? Well, to be honest, I exhibited overconfidence bias. I felt like, well, of course I can drive up this mountain in my fairly new minivan, and I've never had a problem yet. Why would I have a problem now, right? So I exhibited a blind spot of something that I didn't realize that I wasn't competent in, which was getting up that mountain in the snowy weather, and not having done the adequate research like I should have before I went and did the action that I did. And the good news is I get to learn from it, right? And so, I think that there are all kinds of behavioral finance things that happen when really smart people do things with their money that they're not prepared for, they're not thinking about carefully enough. And then when something goes south, people often face a lot of severe financial repercussions, right? So where does this happen? I see it all the time with people that are investing in crypto or growth stocks or individual names that have done well recently. People will take that statistical, uh, you know, basically there's statistical noise in stock prices. And if you think about 1,000 people investing in all kinds of different things, some of those 1,000 are going to hit big. And the problem is some of those 1,000 that hit big, a lot of it's just statistics and some of it's skill, but most of it's probably random statistics. But the people who do hit think that they're geniuses or think that they are at least smarter than average and expect to continue winning and continue having big gains because, well, of course, it's their skill causing this good result instead of random chance, right? And unfortunately, more likely than not, it's random chance. If you're not running a hedge fund, it's probably random chance. Even those people, a lot of them, it's random chance of why they're successful. But, so think about where in your life are you at risk of exhibiting overconfidence bias and consider humility. I've certainly learned myself that humility is important to always reflect on in everything after this weekend with that scary experience that we had getting stuck in that icy hill on top of a mountain. So, you know, uh, I will just say that I hope for your family's safety and security. But one of the other things that I'm forced to think about, I've went through this experience, which luckily wasn't an actual formal accident because we drove the car home. But I did go through a near-death experience about 15 years ago in a not similar incident, but sort of similar in the sense that I was next to a semi truck when I was coming home from my sophomore year at school, and it was a bad storm. I tapped my brake to back off the semi because the semi was throwing up all kinds of water. I couldn't see absolutely anything because it was really dark outside. I tapped my brake and I hit a big puddle of water right in the middle of the interstate and lost traction, lost control, hydroplaned off the interstate, hit a tree and flipped. Landed on my side. I thought, my best friend was in the car. I don't know. This is like kind of a graphic financially free Friday. You're gonna say, get Megan back, please, quickly, because this is really weird. Travis is oversharing, but I think it's relevant. And what happened in that car is I thought, oh my gosh, this is again 15 years ago, and I think I was maybe 20 years old. I see me and my best friend were covered in blood, and he's not responsive. I'm barely responsive. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just killed my best friend. And then I saw him come to, and he woke up, and I was okay, and I felt like I had a new lease on life, and I felt like whatever I did in life had to matter because I survived something that might have not been survivable. And I had all kinds of reflections on, maybe does God have me here for a purpose? What is that purpose? And when my first job didn't work out in after college, I felt like, am I a failure? Or, what am I meant to do? I don't know. And then I just kept trying things and eventually founded Student Loan Planner. And we have the great team, that we have today. And I'm really proud of that team with Student Loan Planner and SLP Wealth. And I think, what does this all mean? What is it all? How is it relevant to you? I think that uh, most people don't reflect on their own mortality enough. And because people don't reflect on their own mortality, people tend to think, I'm going to live until 120. I need to have a 50% savings rate so I don't outlive my money. Well, that might happen. You might live until 120, but you also might only live until 45 or 50. And then what does that mean if you were a mega saver and put off all these things that you wanted to do in your life? just so that you could feel better about not running out of money in case you lived 110 or 120. What things in your life are you putting off that you should not put off, that if something happened to you much sooner than expected in life, that you would not feel, that you would feel like you want to make sure you feel like you've really lived. You don't want to live in any regret, right? And so I think, some people that are saving a whole lot need to think about how can I achieve more of what I want sooner in life and maybe ease up a little bit on the savings rate, right? Because life is finite and it is short and we are here and then we are gone. And I think that has all kinds of implications, right? If you have something you're feeling called to, you should go for it. You shouldn't put it off. um, and I think that it's important for all people to find like what they feel called to. I think that's another exciting thing that I get to experience working at SLP Wealth is it's super fun to help other people try to find their calling and what their why is. What's the main thing in your life? It's worth investing in. It's worth really putting down money for, right? And sometimes that involves working with a financial planner to like figure out how to best achieve that as soon as possible, right? And other times it's like ponying up for the all-wheel drive when you feel like, oh man, maybe that money could have gone into my Roth IRA as resident and I should have done that instead. Well, maybe your safety and your long-term peace of mind is also worth investing into, right? So don't beat yourself up. Live life to the fullest. Know that we're here for a short time, right? And don't plan on only living till 45. Like you probably will live longer than that, much longer than that, and that's a good thing. So you do want to save, you do want to invest for retirement, but it's really great to try to find this balance. So those are some reflections after a scary weekend. Hopefully, my experience will give you some positive things to think on, right? Maybe there's a trip you've been putting off, or a career move you've been putting off, or a practice launch that you wanted to do that you've been waiting on. Maybe there's a home renovation you've been too afraid to go for. Maybe you have been, uh, wanting to cut back your hours of work, but you felt like you couldn't afford it. I mean, all those things. Think about what are you going to regret most in 10 or 20 years? Not doing the thing you wanted to try or doing it. And you're probably going to regret more not doing it. So hopefully we can be your partner in that with SLP Wealth if you're a client of ours. Let's think about what big thing you want to do really soon that you don't want to regret not doing. That's a joyful way to end. Is think about, if life ended in a year from now, what would you want to live or what would you want to experience, right? So hopefully that's not too heavy for a Financially Free Era podcast. But don't worry, because Megan's coming back soon. She's going to be back mid-March from maternity leave, and her joyous, happy episodes will be back. And then if you want to listen to Grumpy Trav or, Too Heavy Trav, you can listen to the Seal Home Planner podcast for that, LOL. So thank you guys so much for listening to Financially Free Era, and have a great weekend.